Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I am so thrilled today to have Michael Gorman here, attorney Michael Gorman, to give us an overview of the 4 documents that you need for yourself and especially for your kids who are flying the nest. Maybe they're going off to college, they're graduating high school. Mike's going to share some funny but really pertinent and important stories that drive home why you have to get these documents in place. So, Michael, take it away.
Thank you, Nicole. I really appreciate this. My name is Mike Gorman. I'm an attorney in Holden, Massachusetts, and I specialize in estate planning. It's everything from a simple will to a complicated trust. But for the purposes of today, easy for me to say, I want to address the 4 documents that your child needs when they turn 18. When your child turns 18, you as the parent or the adult or the guardian no longer has any ability to access any information or make decisions or do anything for your child at that point. At 18, they are deemed to be an adult, and whether or not they're truly an adult at 18 depends on their maturity level. I can assure you that at 18, I was not an adult. I'll give you a story on why these are important. At Assumption College, where I went, now Assumption University, we all lived in the dorms at Assumption, and there were 4, 5, and 6-man condo complexes. And one of the things we did for entertainment purposes at Assumption in the winter is we would get very refreshed and then jump off the roof of the 5-man complexes into the snowbankings. Well, one person, whether that might be me or not, went jumping off the roof, missed the snowbanking, and landed side first on the side of the hill, breaking their arm. When the parents of this individual, whether that might be me or not, tried to contact the hospital to find out how that person was doing, they were given no information. That's because when you're 19, 20, 21, unless your parents are proactive or you read something about this, you're not going to fill out the documents talking about. So for me, there's 4 very important documents you need. The first is called a Hipaa document. And that's the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. It's not the Hippopotamus Act, the HIPPA, but it's the Hipaa Act. What does that do? For the purposes of what we're concerned about, you fill out a document that says, here are the people who can find out medical information on me, whether that be reading medical records or just asking a doctor, how's my kid doing? Are they okay? Because what I can tell you is if you don't have this document filled out, hospitals and medical professionals are going to err on the side of caution. They are not going to release information about your child to you. They don't know if you're estranged. They don't know your relationship with your child. They don't know if your child wishes that you do not release information to them. So unless they know you, they are not going to release any information about your child's condition. So if your child is in an automobile accident or has an illness come up and you call the doctor or the hospital, they're not going to tell you anything unless we fill out this Hipaa document. Very important that you have a Hipaa document, whether you're 18 or 81. And on the Hipaa document, it's not decision-making capacity. What it is information. So not only can you name your parents, but you can also name grandparents. You can name aunts and uncles, siblings, friends, whoever you want can be on this document. So that's the first document that, in my opinion, is essential if you are turning 18. A second document is called the healthcare proxy or a medical power of attorney, depending on what state you live in. In Massachusetts, we just call it a healthcare proxy. If you've been in the hospital for any reason, you have a healthcare proxy somewhere, whether it be at St. Vincent's, UMass, MGH. The problem with filling a proxy out at one of these hospitals is while they're portable, it's not efficiently transferred between hospital systems. So it's always best to have a standalone healthcare proxy. What does it do? You're naming someone to make healthcare decisions for you if you cannot. So if you've been incapacitated, you've been in a bad automobile accident, or something has happened to you at school, maybe you got COVID and it got serious quick, and you're in the hospital and they decide that you can't make decisions for yourself, whoever you've named on that healthcare proxy can now step in and make that decision for you. You should also have a backup named as well. You know, if you're going to be naming mom or dad or your parents as the primary, make it both parents and then name a independent standalone backup. Because typically if one of your parents isn't available, they're probably both not available because maybe they're out of the country on vacation. So let's name someone who might be more apt to be here if the parents aren't, to step in and make decisions. Why is this important? A hospital is going to do life-saving measures for you, but let's say you're in a bad accident and you are been rendered unconscious or you're in a coma, and the hospital is recommending that a operation take place. It's not life saving, so that they don't automatically do it, but they need consent from someone to do this operation. If you don't have a healthcare proxy, then what your family's going to have to do is they're going to have to petition the court for a guardianship. What a guardianship does is does give you control over medical decisions. However, that comes at a price of about $1,500 between legal fees and publishing fees. And that's the bottom price for it. It can go up to $3,000 depending on where you are. And the other thing is now the family is spending time with a lawyer in the courts rather than being with their loved one. So doing pre-planning is always much cheaper than crisis planning. So a healthcare proxy, in my opinion, is, again, the second very important document that you need to have, again, whether you're 18 or 81, but it certainly should be done right when you turn 18, not because we think we're going to have an accident or we're going to get sick. No one does. You don't think you're going to get sick if you're 95, but it happens. And if something happens, we want things in place so we don't have to crisis plan. Third document that's very important, and this is something that unfortunately would come into play if something really serious has happened, is a living will. Now, living wills don't have any legal authority creating them in Massachusetts, so it's more a statement of your wishes should something happen to you. What a living will does, it says, if I have had an event happen, whether I've been in a bad accident or I've been stricken ill from a stroke or a heart attack or whatever, this is what I want the doctors to do. So basically, our state that if a physician examines you and determines that you do not have any reasonable expectation of recovering, whether that be because you're brain dead or because your injuries are so grave that you'll never either regain consciousness or the ability to care for yourself, what do you want them to do? Do you want them to continue trying to keep you alive, or do you want them to simply provide comfort measures? And that varies based on your beliefs and your background. So if we say we do not want anything beyond comfort measures taken, we're very explicit with that. If we want everything done to keep us going, we're very explicit with that too. Now, remember, this is just your wishes. The ultimate decision maker is your healthcare proxy. But it's good that your wishes are down so no one misremembers. People's hearing and their comprehension of what a loved one wants varies from person to person. Perhaps mom or dad wants to be kept alive, but you remember that time that they saw something awful happen in the news and they say, I would never want to be kept alive in that situation. Well, now you've got conflicting information. So let's put it down on paper so no one can miscomprehend what you want. And the other things we talk about in a living will is whether how you want your services to happen. Do you want to be cremated or buried? A lot of people don't care, but if you want it, we want to write it down. Why does it not go in a will? Because if you do a will, typically the will doesn't get looked at until days or weeks after you've passed away. And if you wanted to be cremated and you were buried, it's too late for that, and vice versa. The last thing we address in the living will is, are you an organ donor? You don't just have to put the plus or the heart sign on your driver's license to be an organ donor. If you explicitly state that in a legal document, then that can be used by the hospital to do whatever they need to do with your organs should something awful happen to you. So that's very important to have too. Let's go to the last document, which is a little less grim, I guess, because I'm in the business of grim, unfortunately, sometimes. The fourth document that's very important is a durable power of attorney for finance. And when I say for finance, I mean anything outside of your health. So a power of attorney should be anything from being able to do banking for the incapacitated person, to signing for mail for that person, to managing plans they might be involved in, to dealing with insurance companies. Anything you could do that isn't health related, the agent under the durable power of attorney can do for you. Again, why is this important? Let's say you have a child, they're a couple hours away in college. I mean, they could be 20 minutes away, but this makes more sense if they're maybe 3-4 hours. Maybe they're going to University of Maine Orono. That's a 5-hour ride from here. Maybe they're going to college in New York City. That's a good 3.5-4 hours from here. And they get certified mail. Well, they can't sign for certified mail. Power of attorney will allow you to do that for them. Let's say that they get a check in from their summer job. It's come too late for them to sign for it. Not that a lot of people use paper checks these days, but some still do. You can sign that check, deposit that check into the bank for your kid. Let's say that something comes up on an insurance plan that they're involved in. You can sign on their behalf for an insurance plan. This allows you, the parent, to conduct business on behalf of your child until they get back into the home again. And, you know, there's times where delays can really cause an issue. And you want to be able to jump on something in a timely fashion so it doesn't cause an issue with your child's situation. So in my opinion, these are the 4 documents that are vital for your kid to have before they leave the home for college or once they turn 18. Because again, remember, as soon as they turn 18, no one is going to talk to you about your child at all. They are going to direct all communication to your child. And that's fine, because at some point that should happen anyways. But at 18, 19, 20, 21, again, I submit to you that at these years, you're kind of in between childhood and adulthood. And, you know, if you want to make sure that you can stay involved in your kids' decision-making for those years, you really need to have them fill out this documentation as soon as they hit 18.
That's such great info. And you were telling me of a few clients who, as soon as their children turn 18, the first thing they do is stop at your office to get these executed. And that's so rare.
Yep.
So hopefully with this message out there, more folks realize that it's actually a necessity.
Yeah, I have a client. She has 5 children. I can't obviously divulge the name, but we've worked with 4 of them already who are 18 plus, and the 5th, as soon as they turn 18, I know they'll be at the office to fill out those documents. I mean, we even did wills for them. Now, are wills vital for an 18-year-old? Unless there's some substantial assets, probably not, because what is there to convey other than personal property? But you know, if there is the potential for there to be personal property, perhaps the child received an inheritance from a deceased parent, you know, maybe that's something we need to look at and do as well. But the 4 ones that we really need in order for you to stay, you, the parent, to stay involved are those 4 documents we mentioned.
Perfect. And we have an article for all of you that we can share through a great financial planner that Michael and I both know. They do add one other information, a FERPA policy, which I encourage you to read the article. Just another option for you to get information on your children. If you have any questions, Attorney Michael Gorman is great. You can reach him anytime. Happy to share his information. And we do have, Sam, do you have any questions?
Okay. No, I don't. It was really great information. I had no idea about many of those things. So I would love to get, you know, I guess a summary of those 4 documents I need. And
I think that's a great idea.
And yeah. I'll talk to Laura about it. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, fantastic. Thanks. Well, thank you, gentlemen, for your time today. I had many folks ask to have this recorded, so we'll be posting it. And we will continue to bring great information to you. Michael, thank you. This isn't the first or the last time you've put out helpful information via webinars with me, so I appreciate you.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Nicole.
Yes, my pleasure, gentlemen. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you.
And remember, keep your kids off the roofs of dorms. Yeah. Very important.
We're gonna
I will
try.
do so.
Awesome.
Yes. All right. Let me figure out how to stop.